I don't think I'll ever going to beat his presentation. It was pretty amazing, and I learned some things out of that. But I'm here just to sort of discuss horizontal apps, and I don't know if it's a term that you're hearing, but it's just to sort of give you a little bit of insight what we mean when we talk about horizontal apps, and what is TVision doing about it. What are horizontal apps? So sort of the general definition is it's a smaller bit of software, and it's something that we would sort of develop, and we're not actually targeting towards a particular individual customer. Hence, it's a wider selection of customers. So therefore, there could be some benefit gained from a number of different customers. And some of the horizontal apps might be sort of targeted for certain industries, but some of them aren't. So some of them can be quite generic. Doesn't matter what sort of sector you're in. You're not limited just to have one horizontal app, and so horizontal apps can live with each other, and so the whole ecosystem with the apps and horizontal apps, it is really sort of targeting for cloud clients. So there's no general extra licensing cost from a Microsoft perspective. The only additional sort of costs that you might incur is obviously a subscription charge, which is that's the general ecosystem of being on SaaS. So I just had a little comment there about on-prem. So anyone who is on-premise, who's also thinking about going to Business Central on-premise, unfortunately there is still an additional charge from Microsoft's, because it's the objects that these horizontal apps actually sit on, that you do have to sort of pay for, unfortunately. So it is sort of targeting for SaaS, but you're not excluded, but it's just a little bit of extra additional cost to actually get you on board if you're on-prem Business Central. So sometimes I like sort of graphics and to sort of explain what's the difference between a vertical app and a horizontal app. So for some of you might have heard Bevica as one of TVision's solutions, and that's actually there's quite a lot of functionality into that particular app, and it is targeted to a certain market sector. So that's what we call it's a vertical app. Sorry. So that's a lots of extra functionality, quite targeted to a particular sort of market sector. Whereas all the other little blue ones that you see there, they're all the horizontal ones. So they are of, and I've just subtly changed the size of them because some of them are a bit more feature rich than others. So some of them could be just a really quick add-on or a feature to add to your system, and some of them have got more functionality, and sort of has a little bit of extra impact to the business, or is a bit more targeted to a certain area. And then I've got this slide to sort of horizontal apps versus the marketplace. So when we're talking about horizontal apps, we're talking about what TVision has on offer in terms of a solution that we can drop in, versus the marketplace. And so the marketplace has a plethora of all sorts of apps. So if you ever sort of want to venture going on to the marketplace, and then start doing searches or just browsing, you'll probably be inundated with how many apps there are out there. Now those, we don't know all those apps. I think there's probably, I don't know what the latest stats are, but I think I've heard there's like over 1,000 now potentially for Business Central relating to apps, which is a lot for you to sort of, well, how do I know this app is best for me? Should I trust the vendor, and so on? So it's just to sort of, again, just to differentiate what we mean by horizontal app versus you going onto the marketplace. There is something that TVision will be looking into the future is actually putting on maybe a few of our apps onto the marketplace to see if there's any sort of penetration out there, because it might be a feature that other Business Central users might want to sort of take up. Let's go to the next slide. So just a general, what are the benefits? Just a nice sort of bullet point here. So again, we are just targeting to certain parts of your business to hopefully then save you time, and that's the whole purpose of really trying to find this solution, or this the solution that we developed for the horizontal app. There's no additional upfront software investment, so you're not there's no, because of the SaaS model. You're not paying for a couple of £1,000 for a license here, so it's actually like virtually zero in terms of a license. You just go on a subscription model, so it's only a set amount per month. The only other investment, I guess you could say, up front is just a bit of setup. There might be some training. Obviously, you might want to do a bit of testing as well. So it's probably more on your side in terms of a time investment, and a little bit of us to help you along with that setup. It's plug and play, so it's for especially on the marketplace, but also horizontal apps. I'm sure we could agree to put in some of these apps onto your sandbox environment, so you can actually just we can plug it in and you can start playing with it and seeing if it's actually something that you expect would actually have a benefit to your business. And again, just to sort of make it clear, it is pay as you go for software. If it's a great solution, and then after say 18 months the business changes, or there's a change in perhaps there's something else, it's a different app that could replace it, then you're not committed forever to actually utilize this particular bit of software. So one of the other benefits of horizontal apps is it's also, again, for a SaaS model, you're not fixed on this particular solution forever. As the Microsoft base layer, Microsoft will release updates throughout the month. Then there's a major wave update twice a year, and that would be the similar kind of journey that we would envisage for horizontal apps. Only if we need to. So it doesn't mean that you are going to get an update every single month, but where we sort of deem there's actually a great feature that we could add to the particular app, or Microsoft changes that base layer, so therefore we have to sort of maybe adjust the solution to make sure it conforms with the Microsoft base layer. And we're not necessarily deciding what goes onto the roadmap. It's actually yourselves. It's your input. So you're the driver really of what goes into these horizontal apps. So it's based on experience from previous discussions with clients and what the challenges are, and then we sort of try and wrap around an application, a horizontal application to meet that requirement. So therefore you get benefits. So another client might suggest why don't we do this for this particular app, and then that could benefit several other clients. So I hope it's a synergy of benefits here. And so one thing that is, obviously you get a horizontal app from ourselves, it's going to be supported by TVision, your trusted BC partner. And there's just a sort of I guess a word of caution when you go to the marketplace for any other apps, that you're going to have to do your own due diligence on that particular supplier, that particular vendor of the solution that you want to sort of port into your system. And so that might entail a little bit of risk, because who's to say that business is going to be there in 12 months time and Microsoft will release an update, and then obviously if they're not about, then they can't support that particular solution. So you might have to turn it off. There might be a little bit of data loss. So there's this element of risk, something to consider. We do have obviously recommended vendors that do exist on the marketplace. You know, one that comes to mind would be Continua if you're doing any document management or document capture and expenses. So you will find them on the marketplace. So we do have, you know, a number of other suppliers, other vendors that we would work with. But theirs is very much theirs is almost like a vertical solution because it is actually, you know, it's quite feature rich. So just you may or may not be aware that these are just some of the apps that we have on our system that we can sort of drop in. That's just probably the most common ones, the most popular ones. We do have some other ones that I haven't listed here. But you know, distribution cost management is great for any sort of companies that work in the distribution sector. Intercompany sync, which is where we're sharing data between two different companies. So, for example, if you update a customer in one company, did you want that to update that particular customer that exists in another company? Or added on a new GL account and then, you know, updating another GL account in another company. We have the credit control notepad. This is the way it's quite targeted for credit control users, and again, that's fairly generic. That doesn't matter what sector you might be in. That's actually useful for all. We got the Excel journal import. That's quite a popular one. So where you can grab an Excel file, import it into Business Central, but have preloaded definitions of the mappings of the columns. That's a great feature of that particular solution. Various payment file formats. So if you're doing payment runs and you want to export to your particular bank and upload a file, then obviously not all the banks have the same layout. So we cover off probably all the major banks here in the UK and some abroad as well. GLRec, it's a feature that's not generally in Business Central, so if you need to sort of reconcile transactions inside the general ledger, we do have a solution for that. CIS, Construction Industry Scheme, holiday management. If your business is using the timesheet functionality, then you can sort of tie in a holiday management solution around that as well. Divisional dimension balance. That's where customers may want to ensure that there might be two sort of business entities inside the one company, and one of the limitations of maybe using dimensions is that there's no rules to force by dimension. So therefore, if one of your dimensions is a company or some sort of business entity, and you needed to balance by that particular dimension, we have a feature for that. API external billing. If you've got a billing solution that's outside of Business Central, so the billing engine, if you will, that creates the invoice data that you'd need to then put into Business Central, then we've got a method to get that into Business Central through this API external billing, and that just gets it into a position of being able to create documents. And then the last one there, which I've highlighted in given time, so I'll just check with Danusha if we've got any time there, is a batch post management. Some of you may not be aware that we have that one as well, and I'm happy to sort of give you a 5-minute quick demo on that one. It's something that's
Jason,
quite recent.
I was actually going to say that a demo would be fabulous, and also just to remind everyone that all of that information is also available on the website, so you can find out a little bit more about each one of those, and it will also be in the post event survey to say, would you like to learn any more about any of these specific horizontal apps? But yeah, if you could do a show and tell, that would be brilliant.
Okay. Yep. And I'll set the expectation to be low because I can't
live
beat
demo.
I can't beat Simon's great presentation there. So we'll see how we go with that one. And then obviously after sort of do demo, I think Danusha, you covered off there in terms of what would you do next if you want to find out more. So you go to the website or just drop us a line. So. I will turn off the presentation and hopefully hit escape, and that one, there you go. So hopefully you see a BC screen. Yep, great. So I'm just going to talk quickly about this batch post management. What is it? So some of you who may be involved in posting documents in Business Central. So just to give you an example here, if I just go into a sales order list, if I need to actually post an order, then I've got actually two ways to do that. I can go into each order and manually post them, like I can do a ship, I can do an invoice, or if there's actually a selection of documents that I want to actually post all together, I do have the option to do a post batch solution, which this is all standard in Business Central. So just from client input, I've had about several clients talk about, this is all great, but what we'd like to do is maybe automate or schedule it in. And also when you click on this post batch, and you might have, say, several documents, and then when you click on that, it will say 3 out of 7 have posted. You think, oh, thanks for the 3, but what about the other 4? So then you have to go individually into those 4 and find out why it didn't post. There might be something to do with, there might be a setting that's missing, or a dimension that's not been filled in, or it's not inside your post and date range. So there's all sorts of reasons why that might occur. So to extend this particular feature, we've come up with this batch post management. So actually, I might have a shortcut on my menu up here. I don't, that's fine. So that's a good way to start, wasn't it? So post queue. I need to check if it is actually on my Sandbox UK system. So I'm pretty sure it was, but so I'm just clicking in extensions and then just double checking. These are all the extensions that have been populated. So okay, well I was testing it yesterday and it was working well, but it looks like it's not here today. So if you just give me 1 minute, I will load it in. That's the one. And just let it load in. And what I can do is just double check. Yeah, so I was in the right place. Not going crazy.
Perils of a live demo.
It is, yeah. I was just made sure it was all fine yesterday, and today it's a different story. But
you found it now, so that's fine.
Well, I just had to sort of prove that there was remnants of me testing it there, so and just so I wasn't actually going crazy. So let's just check, and now we're up to the. Hopefully, Microsoft is going to be doing updates to extensions fairly quickly. Installation status still going on. All right, it says package deployment is in progress. So here, I mean, this gives you an insight into a horizontal app. How we sort of, upload that manually into a particular Sandbox environment. I don't know if there's any questions that have popped in Danisha, but whilst it's waiting, I can maybe answer.
Yeah, no, one of the questions was how long did they all take a similar length of time to do the install, and how quickly could we get that working for a client? Not necessarily this,
yeah,
but all of, I guess it's a similar time, is it?
Some of them are almost self-serve. So what we're trying to do with Horizontal Apps is there will be a sort of a link to a document, if you will. So if you're familiar with using the Freshdesk portal, some of that documentation we are intending to at least put onto to Freshdesk so we will just, part of the install could be just simply, you know, we put it into your sandbox. Here's a link. Follow the instructions. And then hopefully that's the plug and play sort of concept, the utopia that we're trying to get to, which might then lead on to John's point about having having sort of, you know, the TVT learning, and then maybe just we could be adding maybe more content in for training videos. So, you know, similar for Horizontal Apps, there might be just a quick short video to show that, or, you know, it's actually just an in-person, you know, call. So sometimes it's only about 30 minutes, if that. So quite short, I would say, in terms of the investment time.
Brilliant.
Completed, published operation, that's good. So that's all. Hopefully now it's not going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. There it is, post-batch queue list. And I guess one of the features, which is a good feature in some respects, even though the extension dropped out, or the app dropped out, the data is still saved. So this data is actually belonging to the actual app, but it didn't delete it. So it's just the functionality was removed. So so let me just expand that out. I'm sorry if it's a bit small, I can try and zoom in. This is one of the great benefits of Business Central these days, isn't it? It's just a browser. You can just zoom in. So what I've just got here is just an example of configuring maybe two different ways to sort of identify orders that I want to, you know, just do en masse, and they have particular criteria. So in the top here, I've got certain columns that I can enable them. What do I want to do this particular one? It's just it's an invoice in action. Do I want to replace the posting date? Yes, I do. I do want to replace the document date? No, I don't. And posting date formula. So that is one of the limitations, I guess you could say, with the standard BC post batch. Is so some people have worked out, okay, I can call up the post batch routine, and I can put in a posting date, and then I can then click on, well, I want to schedule this for later. And that's great. It will go into sort of the job queue, but then people think, I want to have that recurring. I want to do this every day. And unfortunately, it's whatever date you typed into that particular report, it's going to save that date. So it doesn't understand that concept of being dynamic. So the next day, if you just typed in a date in there, or say today, today's date is going to be saved there until you go in and manually go and change that job queue, which defeats the purpose. So that was one of the key criteria as well, is that we try and make it dynamic, so you can have it on a recurring cycle. And then we got this concept of actually identifying, well, so when you run the post-batch routine and you're typing your filters, and I guess it's a little bit of it's a cross your fingers and hope that you got the right filters, and then it posts. So what you can do here is, well, we decided to split this into two. It's actually, so, well, let's get the documents ready. Let's identify what the documents are first, and then if you need to alter your report filters, you can then do that and then run the routine again. And that's sort of a neat feature before you commit to actually the post. So in my previous sales order list, I'll just have a quick look here again, just to sort of remind everyone here. I've got this particular sales order here, and So I could be, I'm another user, I'm working on it, I've released it. So let's just hit release now, which effectively just says there's no more changes to this, and it does a few just release checks. And then it can now be responsible for this post-batch routine solution that we have. So post batch queue. And then what I'm expecting is I'm expecting the particular order to satisfy a certain criteria. Now, if I just click on this guy here, so I'm going to say highlight that line, and then click on here, request report page. Hopefully you can still see it. I'm looking for orders, so document type orders. I'm looking for where the location is blue and then where the status is release. So that's my target effectively. And just to quickly mention, one of the additional features that the standard solution doesn't do is actually going down to sales line level. So actually saying, well, actually, if there's a particular line that also matches the criteria, include this into the particular selection of orders. And it gives you a lot more granularity of how to identify which orders you want to ship in this particular case here, because I want to do a ship action. So I'm going to do this get documents ready. And it has found that order. And so I can drill in and say, yes, that was the order I was expecting. So that's my confirmation that my report filters are working as expected. And if I look at this other one here, so that's my ship action done. And this particular one is an invoice action. So this has basically got its own other more filters, and I'll just quickly go to here. And now it's looking for anything that's it's very similar to the shipping one, but where we completely shipped. So so all the lines are effectively now being shipped, and so this is now a target to be invoiced. And obviously the criteria is different for each business. It's just a demo to identify that this is a subtly different selection of orders. I haven't actually posted this one yet, so that one there should come up empty. That's a positive test. That's good, because what I need to do is now actually post this. So I've got a post batch routine here. So actually within the number of documents in here, I can actually post that. Okay, and then here, success, we would have our count of orders that are posted has increased. There's no errors. So this is the part where I said, if you ever used the post batch routine before and it says 3 out of 7 have posted, well, what about the 4? This is where you'll be able to drill down and see per order what the problem was. It'll give you the last what the error is. So that's an additional feature there. So I'm going to go back to the invoice. So it should match that criteria now, because that particular order is now finished. It's been completely shipped. So get documents ready. It's hit a 1, and then post batch, and now I can just complete that cycle. So this is I guess a starting place. It's always good to whenever I hear people talking about automating solutions, and I always say, well, let's just baby step it through, make sure you come in, do the clicks here, and click it through here. But now you can take it to the next level, as automate it. So how do you go and automate it? And you probably saw me just double checking that I wasn't going crazy before. Is that I did create some job queue entries just to sort of explain that now you can use those codes that I had before. I can then wrap that into a job queue entry, which is like a scheduler for Business Central, and I can then decide at what particular time of the day I'd like to do the actual posting activities. And then so therefore I can, especially if you're running a warehouse, for example, you might have certain cutoffs, so you can time that around those cutoffs. Or you might be in an end of day procedure where you actually do all the invoicing, but that can just be scheduled. Nobody has to even worry about it, so it will just happen in the background as long as it matches that criteria. If you could have loads of different combinations. and then you could either just create multiple job queue entries, or you just extend the parameter string to include all those different codes. So that was a whirlwind of that solution. So I'm sorry for the little hiccup at the start. I swear I did check sort of 5 o'clock yesterday. It was all there, but I should have double checked this morning. But there you go. I didn't expect it to disappear on me. Yeah. So thanks. And if you've got any questions, like I said, then just feel free to reach out to us. So I think back to you, Tanisha.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jason. So yeah, just back to me to finish off, work out which presentation. Can you see my screen that's ready to go with a summary?
Yep.
Yep. Brilliant. So yeah, just to remind everybody what we spoke about. So obviously we had this intro session this morning with Pippa talking about that Microsoft landscape, what the technology solutions look like, how everything fits in, you know, the focus on Power Automate and powering up our solutions. Then John spoke about optimizing the BC and NAV instance with that training element. And there is a question in the feedback survey asking if there's any of those particular packs that you might be interested in. I spoke to you about the communications and the best way for us to engage with you and make sure that what we're doing from a support and a communications point of view is effective and accurate. Simon then gave us that overview in Power BI and the possibilities. You know, what could we do with all of our data? And then finally, Jason gave us that deep dive into that particular horizontal app. So thank you so much for everybody for speaking. Thank you everybody so much for attending. The post-event feedback survey will be going out shortly. Once again, thanks everyone this morning for attending, and speak to you all soon. Bye-bye. Thank you, Pippa. Bye-bye.
Thank you.